Was totally crazy backstage at that metal show, and we were standing around chatting, and then I finally got him.
For a bit, there you go.
Okay there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Kirk Hammett, take one. Awesome. Well, thank you for sitting down and talking more. You've been talking for a while already now, so
I'm here to talk.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. What was the think about when you were introduced to a heavy sound that really, inspired you? What was that?
Well, it's for me, it's kind of hard to pinpoint. My brother had an extensive record collection, and this was in the late 60s, early 70s, and I could remember seeing albums like Are You Experienced, the first Hendrix album, and Wheels of Fire, the first Cream album, Deep Purple, Machine Head. And so that stuff was in the household when I was a younger kid, and I really didn't pay that much attention to it. But later on, when I was about 13, 14 years old, I started getting into music more and kind of exploring what my tastes were. And I remember hearing Purple Haze like when I was like 13 years old, and just totally clicking with that, hearing that sound when I was 6 years old. And I had a revelation. It sounded dark, it sounded evil, it sounded dirty to me. And I kind of right there and then I decided that this is the type of music I like. Because previously I was listening to the Partridge Family, Jackson 5, stuff that little kids kind of gravitate to.
Yeah.
And when I started listening to stuff like Cream and Hendrix, I was also at the same time listening to stuff like Crosby, Stills and Nash and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. But I definitely noticed that I liked the darker, more serious, more heavy stuff. And I started to pursue that a little bit more. And I can remember, after having a pretty good record collection of 70s hard rock, just deciding one day when I was driving in a friend's car, I said to him, "You know what, man? You know what I like? I like big chords, heavy riffs, fast drums, and I'm gonna build a band around those elements." And I kind of just, right there and then decided that hard rock and heavy metal was.
Can I ask you about actually Hendrix? We could spend all day talking about Hendrix, and people
totally,
do.
Totally, yeah.
What did he do on the guitar that pushed heaviness?
Let me rephrase that.
It's hard to describe.
It is really, because there's so much to it. I mean, there's so many facets to Jimi Hendrix as a player.
Right.
Oh, okay, so I'll just start with that. There's so many facets to Jimi Hendrix as a player. For me, what really did it was seeing the movie called A Documentary About Jimi Hendrix. Or a movie about Jimi Hendrix, I can't remember. It's the one where he's playing his guitar on his seat. And I remember seeing him for the first time on film and just getting blown away by what he was doing. I mean, he was playing fantastic lead guitar. He was playing crunchy chords with a distorted sound. And when he went into a solo, I mean, he just ripped the top of your head off. But not only that, he had the attitude, he had the look, he was a showman. He had a lot of different aspects to his playing. He played very melodically. He played really rude at times. He had a blues background. I mean, to me at that point, he was everything.
Yeah.
And I loved the heavier stuff, like, obviously Purple Haze, but stuff like Machine Gun, In From the Storm, Spanish Castle Magic. Electric Ladyland, for me, is like one of the very first. That sound was something that I wanted for myself for a long time.
Cool. Jumping around all over the place here, but I want to also ask you...
As a place where they can go, where they can feel like they can belong. The subject matter that heavy metal is largely based on is about, you know, people who are on the fringes of society. People on the fringes of society, they need an outlet. Heavy metal speaks to them. Heavy metal is their outlet. You take that away from them, they're going to get angry. They're going to get pissed. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. It speaks to the person who needs something like that in their life. I mean, for me, heavy metal solved a lot of my problems when I was a teenager, when I couldn't express myself or I was just frustrated. I would go into my room and put on a metal album and feel instant relief. Now, you know, when someone tries to take that away from you, you're just gonna go, no, I need that for my own survival.
Yeah.
And so, having said that, the next thing is these people look to the bands for this sort of outlet, but they look to these bands for the bands to create the music so that they can feel these emotions. And you know, when a band veers and those people don't get the same sort of emotions, that, you know, they get very passionate about it and very vocal, and they're, you know, they say their mind about it.
Yeah, very cool. I lied. I have one more question.
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
fine.
squeeze it in. We're gonna just like get a speeding ticket, go to the airport, because this is great.
Oh, but I got a DUI.
We are doing an episode called Progressive Metal. This series is broken up opinion.
Well, first, right off the bat, Robert Fripp is a mad scientist. I mean, it's just amazing in itself, his approach to music. Having said that, I think, you know, King Crimson were the first to like really explore things like odd time changes, and weird sort, you know, verse chorus bridge sort of thing. I mean, they really went out on a limb. And even with the sounds that they're doing too, and a lot of the chords that Robert Fripp used on those first few King Crimson albums were chords that you weren't really hearing too much back then in that style of music, or well, rock music. And not only that, they had a very sort of a theatrical approach to the subject matter of their songs. It fit the music, because the music, I mean, progressive music to me is very theatrical music. I mean, you know, it's everything. It's all over the place.
As much as you can fit.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, they're tackling concepts that no one really tackled before. And then Robert Fripp went on to create other things using technology that, you know, to this day we just kind of like take for granted, like, you know, repeating echo that, you know, endless echo. He was the first one to really like use repeating echo to build sound tapestries. And you know, a lot of people do it nowadays and kind of take it for granted, but Robert Fripp was a pioneer in a lot of that, and like manipulating his guitar sound to sound completely different than anyone else.
Right, awesome. Dave, you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll never get to Iggy. Thanks.